Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, I'm a little late to the party, but I'm officially becoming incredibly excited around the world of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. When Bitcoin hit $5,000 recently, even if it was only for a few hours, my ears pricked up. Not to mention the surge of Litecoins too. But today I want to talk about what industry's blockchain technology will change most and what it's going to do for online advertising. Gravity4 is a big data marketing cloud that has announced the introduction of the Lydian coin. Lydian has licensed and forked the G4 marketing cloud to provide prepaid digital advertising services for the blockchain community. That's all accessible by the Lydian cryptographic token. Essentially, Lydian is developing blockchain-driven technologies to reduce ad fraud and to maximise the effectiveness of ad marketing expenditures. It aims to address those trust and transparency issues affecting digital marketing platforms, using blockchain distributed ledgers and industry-exclusive datasets to bring trust at scale. And let's be honest, we all know that ad fraud has plagued digital advertising for years. So a combination of Lydian leveraging the computer power of the G4 marketing cloud and its data-driven marketing services should provide effective advertising solutions for the cryptocurrency market. And my understanding is that this will allow the community to effectively target customers with verified metrics. I read a great quote recently which said this will allow the community to effectively target customers with verifiable metrics supporting their campaign efficiency. And this will eliminate the need for intermediaries to validate the data integrity or ad-serving transaction. And that was by the founder and CEO of Gravity4, Gurbaksh Chahal. And that was enough for me to get him on the show today. So buckle up and hold on tight because it's time to beam your ears all the way back to the US so we can speak with the founder and CEO of Gravity4. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Gurbaksh Chahal, and I guess I've been blessed to be a successful four-time entrepreneur.
Now, I read a great story about your appearance on Oprah Winfrey's show a few years ago, where Oprah says, what an amazing introduction. She said, my next guest is a high school dropout who's worth more than $100 million. I believe that you then went on to sell your ad tech company ClickAgents for $40 million. And in 2007, when you were only 18, and Yahoo bought your ad company BlueLithium for $300 million. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on the past, but can I ask you to go back in time a little and expand on that road to success?
Sure. So just to get the dates right, I dropped out of high school, but it's not the story of where you basically see a guy that drops out of high school and then basically strikes it rich. It's actually where I had started my business already from my computer at home and at the library at the school, and 3 months into it, I had basically generated over $100,000 a month in revenue. And for my parents, that was more than how much they had in their life savings, right? So, and my parents came from a very strict background, upbringing. They believed in education is the power of everything. And I only had two options, either to be a doctor or an engineer. So I was supposed to be George Clooney in ER. So unfortunately, when I dropped the news to them that this is what I was doing, there was a little shell shock of if this was real and this is legal. But I got their permission and blessing to take a year off. And in that time frame, I was able to, 3 months after I turned 18, sell my first company for $40 million to ValueClick. I stayed on there for about a year and a half. It was interesting for a typical 18-year-old to be now a executive of a publicly traded company. But I learned a lot, bureaucracy, that kind of stuff. The boring stuff of entrepreneurship, you can say. I felt this inertia of going back in. And as soon as my non-compete had expired, I had started BlueLithium. And just to tell you what both of these companies did was, I've always been on the cyclical wave of the online advertising revolution. ClickAgents worked on the cost per click model of performance-based advertising, and that was later adopted by Google. So, modern day CPC search, so forth, originated from performance-based advertising on banner ads first. That's what my first company did. And it grew to double-digit millions in revenue and profit at a time when all the dot-coms were going through the, raise money and bust mode. And BlueLithium was a pioneer in online advertising at a time where, every time I would tell somebody what I did, they would say, "Oh, you're the pop-up guy." And I would have to say, no, I'm not the pop-up guy, but what we do is something called retargeting. And back then, that was a huge innovation, and now it's commonplace. But we were the pioneers that led retargeting to the mainstream, where not every ad on a website is equal. You could go to one website like ESPN or Yahoo, and I can go there. And unlike a newspaper, the ad won't be the same. It'll be personalized based on if I went to Ford, you went to BMW, we'd get those appropriate ads. So that was the forefront of that. And, that's kind of a little short blast from the past.
I'm very grateful that you mentioned there that there was no such thing as an overnight success, because I've spoken to over 300 people on this podcast here, and it's seldom the case. Well, I won't say it's seldom the case. It isn't the case, because people only judge you by your current success and how they think how quickly you actually got there. But it's all those blood, sweat, and tears, and the grind, and 24-hour days. It's people don't see that, do they? They only see the success at the end of it.
Yeah, I think the irony of the world we live in now is that everything's a fast news headline, right?
Yeah.
So you only get to see the end result product. And it's not like in entrepreneurship we have the Oscars or we have the Emmys, right? Yeah. We're determined our success based upon the value we create, which is, sometimes overtakes the actual process that got us there. So, I'm actually working harder than ever in my current company than in my last prior three, and it's not because of monetary reasons. And I think that anytime you do things for monetary reward or you do it for monetary gain, you're trying to win the lottery. And the reason why there's no such thing as overnight success is simply because overnight successes are built upon a hope and a prayer and luck. And you want to be able to create your own luck, and you don't want to hope and pray, because that's not a strategy for winning.
I completely agree with you on that. But like I said, I don't want to dwell too much on your past, because right here, right now, you're at Gravity4. And Gravity4 is a leading big data marketing cloud. But for anybody listening that's only hearing about you for the first time at the moment, can you tell me more about Gravity4, what problems it solves, and also what makes it unique from everything else out there?
Sure. So my third company was RadiumOne, and it pioneered programmatic advertising, and we received 10 patents for something called ShareGraph. And what programmatic advertising in the early days was the ability to disintermediate and use exchanges as a way to buy and sell ads. So before a page even loaded, within 30 milliseconds, a transaction, just like how Wall Street's automated and traded, you can say that became what advertising is today. So billions and billions of transactions happening in real time, and that was the execution of advertising, right? And that's where we are today, where everything's getting automated. So to take it a step further, what we wanted to do with Gravity4 was, we looked at the fragmentation, right? There's too many people trying to get a cut of a ecosystem. And the way I look at it is that if we can go ahead and deliver a integrated platform, right, that gives away free software unlike Oracle, Adobe, Salesforce that charges for software that that brands, publishers, etc. use to activate data or to use to manage social media, to manage email, to manage web, to manage mobile apps, etc. We provide all that for free. And the reason why we do that is the data becomes activated in real time, and that becomes a very, very big part of our value proposition in terms of having unique data sets on these profiles of users. The second key thing that is a differentiator is the fact that, instead of us just being able to go to every open exchange out there, we have private marketplace deals with some of the biggest publishers across the globe. So we have unique supply. So the first step is we give you free software to get you unique data activated in real time. Then we give you unique supply that nobody else has access to, that is ad fraud free, because ad fraud is a big deal in our industry. And the third thing is that we were the first ones that actually incorporated a AI engine. And it's kind of funny where now everybody is building an AI engine or claiming to be and naming it, but ours was called Mona Lisa. And, the reason why we named it Mona Lisa is, when Da Vinci made Mona Lisa, the painting, he never finished it. He always took it with him wherever he went. And it's because it was his finest creation, and he kept iterating on it wherever he went. And that's the concept behind Mona Lisa, is the fact that it's a deep learning neural network that will always continue to evolve and learn and make patterns. And as technology evolves, as the technology stack evolves and data evolves, it will be able to go ahead and in real time provide you results without human intervention whatsoever.
That's incredibly forward-thinking of you there, because I think any solution now needs to continuously evolve. And the fact that you're already building that right from the offset is fantastic. But what also really put you on my radar was the recent announcement that Gravity4 has launched Lydian, which is a blockchain marketing cloud token. And I think it's aimed to provide market-leading advertising services with a method of reducing ad fraud and also increase transaction transparency. But can you tell me more about this prepaid digital advertising services for the blockchain community that is essentially accessible by this new Lydian cryptographic token?
Sure, big words, big buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
And, it's a fascinating industry, and it's an industry that's gone from, nothing to $150 billion in value or more in just the last 8 years. So it's phenomenal. Our digital global ad market has gone to become a $232 billion industry globally. So the way we saw it is in the last 7 months, there has been a flurry of companies that have raised more money through blockchain, ICOs, token offerings, more than $2 billion to be exact, as of now that we're speaking. And what's phenomenal about it is that it actually has a lot of similarities to the dot-com boom era, because these companies don't have a product yet. They raised massive amounts of money, and they don't know what to do with marketing. And there isn't a ad agency, there isn't a Gravity4 in this vertical whatsoever. So when we did our research and figured out that how are people currently advertising for blockchain, and this is it's not mainstream yet, right? It is mainstream because it's getting there, right? Like, people obviously know the buzzword Bitcoin, but they don't know cryptographic, or they don't know blockchain. They don't know some of these highly technical words, right?
Yeah.
And when we asked the tech community, the people that are actually building these products, what they're doing for digital advertising or advertising in general, and they're doing the same models that the dot-com bubble did. They're doing TV ads. They're doing billboard ads. They're doing ads on London taxis. They're doing ad network traffic circa 1999, like my first company. So you can see where we saw a way where there was a $150 billion industry that just quickly grew and has a flurry of startups being created every day, but they don't know how to market themselves whatsoever, right? So if we could provide a prepaid utility that gave them access to this, that same Fortune 1000 brands use already today with us across the globe, you can see how we're actually providing a win-win for all. We get into the vertical, we're first to market. We provide the same type of services for this. And on top of that, what's unique about it is that, it's not like we need the money. We're just selling prepaid advertising services. But we're also giving anybody that participates in Lydian the ability to have access to new product development services and technologies that we continue to innovate on. And two of them are, one's called MonaChain and the other one's called MonaBrowse. Just to give you the quick version of both, MonaChain is where we will be using a hybrid frequency protocol to handle a high volume on a blockchain that is needed to be recorded, and that would basically help us overcome a $16.4 billion programmatic ad fraud problem that we're having in the industry. And the second thing is MonaBrowse, which is going to be an alternative, similar to how iTunes came in the way and legitimized the way to buy music. There's 700 million people approximately that have a ad blocker, and in essence, you can kind of say if you're using an ad blocker, I hope you're not, by the way, but if you're using an ad blocker, you're kind of pirating the publisher's content. Sure. And and I can understand, because I'm also a consumer, but I'm also in the industry. The user experience is probably not the best at some of these sites, and that's why people get very frustrated and they put on an ad blocker. So, the idea of personalized experiences has always been key for us. So we've created the first ads that you can talk to that have virtual reality, that have augmented reality in mobile ads. We're always on the cusp and cutting edge of delivering personalized experiences to consumers, but MonaBrowse will allow consumers to basically have an ad-free experience while the publishers are still paid for the content that is being consumed. And it's, like I said, a win-win for all. Those two products are still under development. Zero of the proceeds that we raise in our upcoming token offering will ever be used for will never be used for product development, legal, marketing, sales, whatever. It's strictly for the prepaid advertising services and the right to have access to future products.
And you're right what you say. It's an incredibly exciting space to be in at the moment. I think it was a few weeks ago I had the guys from Aragon on the show, and their token sale raised 25 million in 15 minutes. It's fantastic. But as a tech guy, I love the fact that you've named Lydian, and I think it got its name by paying homage to the first human civilization to use currency. So this almost feels like a rebirth. I mean, what were your reasons for calling that? Was that why?
I'm a very cheap guy. When it comes to buying domain names, but I'm a smart guy when I want a meaning behind it too. So it takes a creative mind to actually kind of connect the two, because as you can imagine, the domain name market is pretty, aftermarket's pretty high, right?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to spend $1 million on a domain name. I would rather give it to charity. But in terms of, when we were looking at what we were going to name the coin, I just did research and found out that the first human civilization in 530 BCE that came up with coinage was the Lydian civilization. And it was to my surprise that even though the cryptocurrency market had grown to $150 billion, there wasn't a Lydian coin out there. There was Bitcoin, there was Ethereum, there was Ripple, there was Litecoin, Dash. There's just the names go on, but for us, it was a great way to go and say, this is great in terms of, from a marketing standpoint, to reintroduce a civilization that needs to get more credit for what we do today, which is basically currency in general. But I just want to make sure that we're clear on saying that Lydian, the product itself, and what we're trying to do technology-wise, is not a currency. Yeah. It's just the name convention came from the origins and the homage of the first civilization that actually invented the concept of the first coins to the human race.
And from what you said a few moments ago, is it fair to say that Lydian is targeting new companies that already have substantial cryptocurrency holdings? Would I be right in saying that?
It's targeting three types of companies. It's targeting companies that's saying, I have a great product and I need to take it to market to see if it has legs, right? And you can say, at any given time, just like back in the day in the dot-com bubble, there was 100 different startups starting every day. It's probably like the same kind in blockchain today. So it's companies that are starting new and want to know if they're even going to succeed or want some type of adoption toward it. The second is companies that are planning on doing a token sale and need some execution around that. And the third one is, you're right, there are, like I said, companies that have raised more money through cryptocurrency than I think even venture capital in the last 7 months. Over $2 billion have been raised. And those companies, fundamental key statement is that an ICO is not an exit. It's not an IPO. It's debt to the community. You got to deliver a product, right? You gotta be able to go ahead and let your community holders that bought your token or funded you, or investors, or whatever you want to call them, based on what you owe them a product. So why not use modern day digital day marketing to acquire customers?
Now, when we go back to the world of cryptocurrencies and blockchain, I think it will equally excite, confuse, and even concern people, depending on their knowledge, understanding of the big changes that are on their way. I mean, if there is anyone listening that is new to this kind of world and this terminology, how would you simplify it in a language that everyone can understand to help them see how different cryptocurrencies and blockchain will make the world a different place in 5 to 10 years from now?
Wow. I think if you were to ask the average person what blockchain is today, they'll probably say it's a new version of Legos coming out.
Yeah.
So it is a hard concept to gather. What I will try to do is explain what the benefits of blockchain are. Yeah. And again, for me, I'm a new entrant in the market myself. So we've been working on this project for 3 or 4 months, and we've been quickly embraced it, quickly adapted into it, and again, the market's very new itself, so it's not like we're late to the game by any standards. But what blockchain does is a lot of things, and there's actually a quote that I saw the other day that I thought that was kind of funny, because it came from JFK's speech back in the day, and it said something like, "Ask not what is my blockchain strategy, instead ask how will my business operate and make money in a blockchain-enabled world." So, what that means is that every industry that is in its current form is about to be disrupted by blockchain. And the reason why is that there's a couple of things that blockchain does. First thing is that it allows you to record something on an immutable ledger that is always there. So what that does is it gets rid of mechanisms of fraud, mechanisms of corruption, mechanisms of the ability to tamper with systems, supply chain, and there's always a recordable aspect to every transaction that goes in. And that itself is remarkable and very powerful because it holds people accountable. And it disintermediates a lot of people that are just not adding value to the equation. So what you're going to get is the real value creators and a open view of what they're doing at any given time based upon the industry or sector the blockchain is operating under. So the way I see it is that this is I don't like using words like revolution or next generation or anything like that. What I like to consider this is a natural modernization of our business model, where everything is going to be public, where people will not be able to just use marketing buzzwords or raise tons of venture funding or whatever. You're going to be accountable to deliver products, have people watch what you do, and at any given time they can go ahead and pull up records and they'll be able to see this. Now, this helps both on the public side, and then there's a lot of stuff that's even happening on the healthcare side, but those are more, sensitive information. So it happens and resides in something called private chains. But either which way, the ability to provide this technology to fundamentally change the way we think, fundamentally change the way that we build businesses is very exciting.
It really is. But it does seem that there are like three types of people in the world out there at the moment, especially where cryptocurrencies are concerned. And I think we've got those early adopters who have been reaping the rewards of investing early. And then there's the techies who are just starting to get on board now and starting to invest in this incredibly volatile market. And then everyone else is probably blissfully unaware about how quickly things are changing, and that some investors are even turning their back on the traditional stock market now. But I mean, how do you see the current state of play now? How do you think it'll evolve? And what part do you think Gravity4 will play in this future? I think
because we're undergoing an offering, there's probably stuff that I can't state. So I'm going to be very general in answering that. I think that the market is going through similarities of what I saw in the dot-com bubble, right? And back then, even though I had a great exit, I was only 16. So, while people would watch whatever their favorite TV show was back in the day, I would wake up in the morning and watch CNBC. And I saw all these dot-coms going public, and people just, you couldn't go wrong. It had a dot-com attached to it. It was basically the next big thing. And then, obviously, the bubble bursted. And there's a few companies that survived, and Amazon's one of them that you can say is worth an immense amount more money now than it ever did back in even the dot-com boom era. So I think what you're going to see is we're in our early stages. There's going to be people that try to make short-term goals, short-term profits in any which way. We're not interested in that. We're interested in creating something and being part of this change, being part of this technology framework, and allowing a white knight approach in doing it, whereas digital marketing is today, and bringing it to blockchain. So, I'm probably the wrong guy to give any financial advice to anyone that wants to make a quick buck in this era, because I'm not a gambler and I don't really believe in that. I believe in, you build stuff for the long run, you don't build stuff for the short run.
And that's great to hear, it really is. And it is all about the technology. And like you said at the very beginning of the show, if you're just going out after things for monetary gain, then you're not going to get very far at all. So a big thank you for coming on the show today. But before I let you go, can you remind the listeners of where they can find more details about Gravity4, Mona Lisa, and how they can reach out to a member of your team if they've got any questions about what we've talked about today?
Sure. If you want to know more about Mona Lisa, our AI engine, you can go to gravity4.com, and that's gravity, the numerical 4.com. And if you want to learn more about our upcoming token offering, you can go to Lydian, LYDIAN.io, and that has all the information about what we're doing in blockchain, providing services to the crypto services era, as well as the monochain and the monobrowse products that are also under development today.
Well, I know how incredibly busy you must be at the moment, especially with everything that you're working on. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. And I really appreciate what you're doing as well. Like I say, it's not just financial gain, and you're in this for the right reasons. So again, thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Pleasure's mine, and thank you very much for having me.
Whenever I read about a new startup or new way of doing things, I always look at the founder's history. And the fact that tonight's guest executed strategic merger with primary competitor ValueClick Inc., valued at over 40 million, and also raised 11.5 million in venture financing at BlueLithium, however never used it as operations were funded through profitability, and merged with Yahoo for 300 million back in Q4 of 2007. And he also raised 33 million in venture capital at RadiumOne and reached profitability and lowest paid in capital in its competitive set. And that was enough for me to see how he has a serious head for business and why he's leading the way forward with the world's first AI big data marketing cloud. Make no mistake, this is an incredibly exciting space to be in right now, and I hope you have learned as much as I have in today's episode.
Remember, you can listen and comment on today's episode over at www.techblockwriter.co.uk. You can also access every episode Neil has recorded and see pictures of the guests by going straight to www.techblockwriter.co.uk/category/podcast.
Now, Caitlin Driscoll from San Francisco messaged me yesterday and said, I'm so jealous of your vacation schedule. It sounds amazing. Have fun in Mexico. But you know what? My life's not as glamorous as many of you think, but then I'm not complaining either. I think most people go on holiday and leave their emails at home, but I have no off button. The podcasts are still edited and posted while I'm away, and I still reply to all of my emails. The reason is because I simply love doing what I do and feel it's my privilege to be able to share these amazing stories with you guys. Work hard and play hard, that's my motto. Speaking of which, I believe there is a Long Island iced tea with my name on it. So I'm going to run off to the bar now, but have no fear. I shall return tomorrow with another episode. So keep your messages, tweets and emails coming in. And a big thank you for listening. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.